So welcome back everyone. We are here at this event organized by Marmara Union of Municipalities, and our theme is finding solutions to common problems. Here we are at the Marmara Urban Forum. We are very happy as KA.DER. Let me introduce my guests to you. Karaoğlu Turkey member Professor Aşkın. Azime, Kocacık, welcome. İzmit Mayor Fatma Kaplan, Hürriyet, welcome. And Sancaktepe Mayor Şeyma, Döğücü, also welcome to our panel. Actually, I look at the hall, I see both men and women. We're going to be talking about finding solutions to our common problems. We're going to be discussing the glass ceiling problem, which pertains to not just women, but men, but mainly in countries like Turkey, it impedes women. It relates to women. And actually, today I have 4 guests, and these women have shattered the glass ceiling. So they're no longer held back by the glass ceiling. But today, we're going to discuss how they were able to smash the glass ceiling. We're going to ask them questions and ask them to share their experiences with us. Now, women and men in the cities live together, definitely. But of course, both men and women may have separate needs. In cities, especially municipalities, must cater to the needs of both sexes, and only then can we have truly happy citizens. We have mayors in our midst, and they know the best about this, so hopefully we're going to hear from them as well. And when we talk about gender, we talk about roles assigned to men and women. These roles have been imposed on women for centuries. And men and women, what sorts of difficulties do they experience? And in today's world, what are the social needs, with the evolving social needs? With women questioning this more and asserting their voice, this is gaining more and more prominence. Now, moving to the glass ceiling concept of glass ceiling, it could be private sector, it could be the private and public sector. In all decision-making processes, women, as they try to work, they encounter these problems. Years pass, and all of a sudden, they realize that they don't get equal pay for equal work. They realize that their training opportunities are restricted compared to men. Or they realize that in terms of promotions, they encounter many different problems. So all of these actually, when you ask the corporations or the bosses, they say that it is not the case. It is a glass ceiling, as the name implies. It's an invisible barrier, right? In all of these decision-making processes, women work tirelessly, but they hit their heads repeatedly on this glass ceiling. And for some women, this has meant that women had to withdraw and not achieve the success that they have the potential to achieve. This has meant that they gave up on what they were going to do. Of course, there are so many reasons for this. In 1979, in the States, 2 women devised this or coined this phrase, and in 1986, Wall Street Journal used this terminology for the first time, and then acquired helplessness was used also in addition to the glass ceiling coinage. Now, we are going to talk about homogeneity in companies and how this has a negative impact on efficiency as well. Professor Aşkın Aslan, you have taught at different universities. You've been a deputy minister, but us women, right now, you are the Istanbul Agreement. You are the Turkey representative for Grevio, the oversight mechanism for the Istanbul Agreement. Us women take the Istanbul Agreement very seriously, and we are going to hear from you the importance of the agreement. So violence against women, domestic violence are covered by this binding text, and Turkey has signed this international agreement. From this point of view, we realize that in Turkey, day by day, violence against women is increasing. What would you like to say about this? In politics, when we talk about this matter, what would you say? Thank you. First of all, allow me to thank you for giving me this opportunity. As you have stated, I wear many hats, and the session is dedicated to glass ceiling, how to smash the glass ceiling, and how to strengthen local authorities is what we're going to discuss here today. And I did prepare a presentation because of the fact that I am a professor. I teach at the Istanbul Ticaret University, Women's Studies. I'm the director of that unit. And also, I report to the Council of Europe on violence against women. I work as an expert. I was elected in April. Council of Europe has 47 members, and right now there are 34 signatories, and Turkey is the country that signed this agreement for the first time. This was signed in Istanbul, hence the name Istanbul Agreement. It's a very important agreement, and right now in 500, 600 places, in similar platforms, people who we don't know about actually talk about the Istanbul Agreement when they discuss these topics. So this agreement, this text has gained immense popularity, and Turkey is and that was back in 2011, the first country to sign it. And then we established a ministry. Fatma became the founding minister, and I was the deputy minister at the time, and we worked together, and we wanted to adapt the Turkish legislation in view of the Istanbul Convention against violence against women and domestic violence. So I see some familiar faces that I work with. Back then, we wanted to turn this into reality, and I think we've done an amazing job. When people talk about increasing violence against women in Turkey, and actually at the time, well, actually, violence has become visible. I don't know if it has increased, but it has become much more visible because all the mechanisms take this seriously. That's why violence against women is something that is taken very seriously. We have dedicated departments. Let me give you an example. In 2009, a process was initiated to classify violence against women separately by the police forces. It's no longer put under the category of violence, but it has a category on its own right now, which is good. So this goes to show how Turkey is really enthusiastic about this. And of course, it's not just the state that needs to wage this battle. That's very important, but we need to do more. We need to make sure that we do whatever is necessary. I'm honored to be a part of the Gravio body, and we were elected as 10 people, and I was very honored to be among the 10 people elected there. And we went and introduced ourselves to all the countries as groups of 7. We went to the Council of Europe. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs also helped us tremendously. Now, by the way, we're going to have rounds, and I'm going to give 5 minutes for every question. So you have a minute and a half left. Okay, we're against violence, be it in politics or outside politics. All sorts of violence we are against. And violence has different forms: physical, emotional, psychological, economical, sexual. I mean, these all undermine women, and they create an inequality, and these are results of an inequality. By equality is what I mean. Of course, we do not talk about physical equality. We don't mean to suggest that men and women are the same physically. No one has such a claim, neither in Turkey nor anywhere else in the world. But what we're talking about here is access to opportunities, exercising of rights, equality in terms of opportunities. This is what's really important. If we don't have this opportunity or this equal opportunities, if people have difficulty accessing, or if women have difficulty accessing, having access to opportunity, then violence follows suit. Çukurova Deputy Mayor Azime, you've been in politics since 2007, and you have done many things. You have worked at many different NGOs, and you are a board member of KA.DER, and that's where we know each other from. İYİ Parti, Çukurova, you were the head of the party there, and then you became a council member of the municipality, and right now you're the deputy mayor of Çukurova. In politics, until you came to this position, did you experience anything about the glass ceiling? You have 5 minutes. Well, first of all, allow me to thank Marmara Union of Municipalities and KA.DER for giving us this wonderful, wonderful opportunity. We have shattered the glass ceiling, and we have 2 mayors here. I'd like to compliment them and wish them every success in Turkey. Yes, there is this glass ceiling that hovers above us, and women in politics, in business, in terms of career, there are some barriers, certain invisible barriers, one of which is physical violence, and then you have psychological violence, and you have these, I mean, I have the head of the Good Party, our chairwoman Meral Akşener, went through a lot of attacks because of this. In politics, I think it was in 1995, when I first started doing politics, I did experience the glass ceiling. I loved politics. I was a mother of 3, and I got lost a bit. And my husband said, "Stop! I mean, you're neglecting your children," he said. That was the first glass ceiling that I hit. And my husband said, "Our kids need you." And then what I did was you know, and he said, "When the kids grow up, you can go back to politics. I will support you. I will help you." He said, "But for the time being, please, we need you as a family," said my husband. And in order to raise the kids better, I trained on pedagogy, and I worked at many NGOs. I was a member of Teachers' Parents Associations. I published magazines until 08, 09, when my kids grew up. I went back to politics, and my efforts were appreciated, and I ranked the 11th in the council elections list. And you know, they thought that I wouldn't win. That's why they gave a woman the 11th rank. And with the mayoral candidate, we organized great meetings. And I remember going to as many as 9 different households to campaign. The people of Çukurova, they have a high economic income, and they have a high education level. And the mayor there, I was supported by the mayor as well. I was elected into the council, then I became the speaker. On the 8th of March, our mayor made a speech, and he said, "Women for us are very important. Women should always prevail. Women should be supported." And then I took the mic and I said, "Mr. Mayor, you say that you support women. Then take the first step. Put your words into action and help a woman get elected as the mayor." And then he said to me, "Azime, don't talk about this too much. No matter how hard we tried, bureaucrats or members of the council, no one supported a female candidate. But still, I did not give up. I did not exhaust my energy. I didn't care about what people said. I had an objective. I wanted to be the voice of women. I wanted to represent women." When Good Party was founded, I was involved in that movement. And in Çukurova, people were scared, and they didn't. No one gave us or rented us a space to carry out our activities. It was difficult. I went to 10 real estate agents, and I looked for a flat, but men told me the following: "Well, if a woman is the chairwoman of a political party, then you can't find a provincial office even." Then we built our own team, a young dynamic team, CEOs, engineers, doctors, retired teachers. And then people started saying, "Well, if women are the chairwoman, this is the team that you get." These people that were looked down upon actually were terribly well educated. They exhibited an amazing performance, and we garnered a lot of votes. And then there was an alliance with the Republican People's Party, and the mayor was from the Republican People's Party, and I was suggested as the deputy mayor, and I resigned from my position, and I became a candidate for the city council and ended up being the deputy mayor. Once the elections came to a wrap, the mayor said, "Azime, there are a couple of other names for the deputy position." And I said, "But you made a promise to us, Mr. Mayor. We did work for you. We established a coordination center for you. We reached out to women and the young people, and we achieved a success," I said. And then another election was carried out for the deputy position, and I was elected as the deputy mayor as a result. So if you want to excel in life as women, you always hit your head on the glass ceiling. There's never equal opportunities, never equal conditions, and our task is really arduous. We exert a lot of efforts. On social media, we are attacked, and this is like a very brief summary of what I went through. Physical violence, emotional violence, all of this happened. All of this, is an opportunity for our empowerment. And here's what I told the administration. I said, I'm holding this position right now, but your girls, your sisters, on behalf of your mothers, and please let's join forces and achieve success, I said. And luckily, thanks to their support, I was able to rise to this position. Yes, we also hear about the difficulties that our participants are experiencing, have experienced in the past, but these are all strong women who smashed the glass ceiling, but they did go through great difficulties on that path. We realized that nothing was ever easy for them. Izmit Mayor Fatma Kaplan, Hürriyet. Now, here's the question for you, madam. In Izmit, after 48 years, you're the second female mayor elected after 48 years, because 48 years ago there was a mayor who lost her life because of a traffic accident. And now Izmit has another female mayor. What was the reception in the city for you?
Gayet iyi karşıladı. Güler yüzle karşıladı.
Well, the reception was very positive. They really welcomed me. Our motto during the election campaign was "Smile Izmit." So actually people came up with that motto because we always had a positive approach. And after the elections, Izmit and the Kocaeli at large, we saw that the city needed this sensitivity, this female touch. So this glass ceiling syndrome, at the end of the day, is just a syndrome. Even if there is no physical ceiling above us, there is a ceiling in our minds, in our subconscious minds. So let me give you an example from my own family. In my family, people told me, if your brother went to school, we wouldn't have sent you to university. I was admitted to the university, and on my first day I said, how am I going to spend 4 years? It's too long. But years went by, and I came to the city at the age of 17, and 5 months ago I was an MP from that city, and for the last 5 months I am the mayor of that city that I came to study. So after 50 years I am the second female mayor after late Leyla Tokan. So this is a very good example. If we were intimidated, if we were limiting ourselves by our stereotypes, we would never be able to get rid of those prejudices or stereotypes. Of course, we are concerned, we are afraid. It's a very human feeling. Even when you come on stage, you get nervous. I just told my friend that I don't like panels and conferences, but I am very comfortably able to go out on stage in big election rallies and campaigns and address thousands of people. But when I attend panels, I'm always intimidated, and most of the time I actually reject the invitations. I decline the invitations and I don't come, but I accepted this one. Thank you for coming. So I would like to thank you actually for everyone, for everything you've done. I'd like to thank the organizers. And of course, solutions are important. We do know that there are problems, shortcomings, but the topic of this forum is cities developing solutions. As a female mayor, as a woman, I think cities developing solutions is an important topic. And with your permission, let me say a few words about violence. First speaker, Miss Aşkın, I don't agree with her. We keep hearing about the increase of violence, but it's only by saying that violence is only becoming visible, it's not increasing, would only make violence seem innocent. No, violence is definitely increasing. I am a woman who has been subject to violence at many different spaces. I am an MP, a female MP who was subject to the violence by male MPs at the Parliament of Turkey. Violence is increasing, definitely. It's not only becoming more visible, but it's also increasing, and we need to discuss this as a whole topic in itself. It's not the problem of Turkey, but it's a problem of the world, and the Istanbul Convention was actually prepared for that. Turkey was the first signatory party to the Istanbul Convention. Yes, it was important, but it's not enough. We need to do more. We need to be more participatory. Egalitarian approach needs to be pursued. We need to talk about human values, regardless of gender, regardless of ideology, politics. We need a top-level political stance. I wish glass ceilings would be like that, would be like these top-level policies. So we can easily break or shatter those glass ceilings. All women can do this. Being intimidated, it's a normal feeling, but if we want something, we can do it. Regardless of our gender, we can come up with more and better activities. And women's sensitivity, awareness, emotions can also make a big difference added to that. When given the opportunity, we see that women can be even more successful than men. We have examples like this in Turkey and around the world. Thank you. Yes, Istanbul Convention, as mentioned previously, it's an international convention, and international conventions actually prevail over national legislation. We have to abide by the convention. We know that there is no problem in terms of laws and legislation, but in practice women face difficulties. First of all, decision-making authorities or the judicial authorities need to take that into consideration. Alleviating reasons shouldn't be taken into consideration. We call it the tie law. The suspect puts on a tie and a nice suit, and then their sentence is reduced. We shouldn't allow this. We should have deterring measures against violence against women. Let me give you an example from mythology. To be able to live as a woman in the city and to be a woman in Turkey was the topic of the study. They make a very good comparison. In history, many women have given names to cities. Ephesus, for instance, it was established by the female fighters. Aphrodisias, again, is a city named after a woman. Amorium is a city in Afyon province. We are female, we are fertile, and in ancient cities we are goddesses. As women, we are goddesses. But what about today? What about today? Even our smile is criticized. They try to tell us how many children we can have. Can we go out on the street as a pregnant woman? So they interfere in all these fields. So just like violence, these are the things that need to be taken seriously as well. Just as a small example. Yes, these are all restrictions, right? Glass ceilings appear in such places. Thank you. Yes, Sancaktepe Mayor, Ms. Şeyma Gülcü, I'll ask you your question. Since 2002, you've been involved in politics at different levels. You have worked in political life. You were the chairwoman of AK Party Women's branch. And if you remember, as KA.DER, we had the chance to visit you for a project. By the way, for those of you who don't know, KA.DER refers to the Association to Support Female Candidates. KA.DER doesn't aim at supporting any candidates from any political opinion, regardless of their political affiliations. KA.DER fights for all female candidates to be able to climb up the stairs of decision-making ladders. So our aim is to support women. So you have a background of a women's movement and you have assumed roles in different levels. What about this experience? Did it contribute to your work at the local level? Yes, thank you very much, first of all. Distinguished participants of Marmara Urban Forum, distinguished colleagues coming from different cities and abroad maybe, ladies and gentlemen, and of course distinguished gentlemen as well, let me say that, welcome. I would like to welcome young people as well. So Istanbul is the sultan of the cities. It's the city of Istanbul. So as the city, Istanbul has this advantage of being a capital. It has an ancient culture. It has been the city of the sultans. So I would like to greet you all from the city of the sultans. Of course, municipal work is advanced at global level as well, and Marmara Municipalities Union is carrying out a lot of activities in that regard. I would like to thank them, and I would like to thank our participants and the administration of KA.DER. We are here to talk about a very important topic. We have speakers who have come from grassroots level. I believe that the issues we face in political life are common as women. You talked about KA.DER, and in Istanbul, in the country, we have different NGOs working for women. So women politicians need to be in constant contact with these NGOs, and we need to strengthen our relationship. As you have said, I am coming from a women's movement. As you know, in terms of its the members, the number of AK Party members is the highest in Istanbul, and almost half of them are women. So managing Istanbul's AK Party women's branch meant a lot of work, and it meant also reaching out to a huge crowd. It was a very good experience for me, but I also assumed different functions when AK Party was established. I would like to say that political parties should definitely discover the miracle of women, and the first party to discover this and the first politician to discover this was our president, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, because in political movement you need to put more emphasis on women and make sure that you empower them, and starting from the establishment of AK Party, women's branches have always been active. In our own political movement, we have also been criticizing this approach. We always said, okay, let's be in the kitchen of politics, so to speak, let's cook it, but we also want to be at decision-making levels. So when you want to do this, male politics can be a barrier for you, regardless of your opinion. So you need to show men the ease of doing business with women. Apart from my political activities, I got involved in decision-making mechanisms as a member of the City Council. Sancaktepe Municipality was established in 2019. I was a founding council member at that time at the municipality. We went door to door, we knocked on people's doors, and we learned how to make politics in the field at grassroots level. And the field work you carry out has to be integrated with the municipal council work. Once you do that, you can become successful. There's just one thing. Men just need to take one step. Maybe you need to take 5 or 10 steps and work even harder compared to them if you want to succeed. And you have to be successful. in terms of their education, occupation. Maybe nobody looks at men's characteristics, but if a woman wants to be involved in politics, everybody asks, where is she from, where did she graduate, where did she study, what is her occupation. So this glass ceiling needs to be broken, and as women who are breaking this glass ceiling, by the way, I am not considering it as breaking the glass ceiling, but I'm considering it as looking at a new skyline, because you broaden your horizon once you're a part of politics, administration, management. It really broadens your horizon, and women have this inborn characteristics: passion, compassion, embracing people, motherly approaches. So all these features could be reflected in the field of politics. I think that would be an advantage for everyone. So everyone working with women always talk about it, even if they initially react working with women. I have to say that when I was given this assignment, when I became the mayor, everyone, even people from our constituency, people said a woman can't become a mayor. So we had to convince people, if a lawyer can, a man lawyer can become a mayor, why can't a woman lawyer become a mayor? We had to express ourselves, explain people, and this is not only at the executive level, even in the field, people actually hesitate first. Can a woman make a mayor, they ask. You feel that a lot. But once you're able to explain people sincerely and openly what you can do, at least talking about my own district, this advantage was transformed into an advantage after the and during the elections. We'll talk about that part later with the next question. Yes, politicians, male politicians especially, need to discover this. And the issue of glass ceiling. My distinguished colleague, lawyer and mayor, as a mayor and as a lawyer, she said she could study only because her brother didn't study. I am a graduate of Imam Hatip High School, and my father was the principal of the Imam Hatip High School. I can say that not even one day I thought about not going to university. Yes, maybe you can explain this experience when you answer the next question, because we really want to learn your experience about this. Yes, I'll turn to you, Aşkın Asan. Most recently, a section of the society is carrying out propaganda activities against the Istanbul Convention, and you are the member of Grevio in Turkey. We know that Grevio is also preparing shadow reports about countries as an organization. It doesn't have to be a shadow report, but they prepare country reports. As a woman and as the representative of Grevio in Turkey, how do you assess this? Well, the shadow report is prepared by the NGO, and Grevio members prepare the country reports. Yes, they send questions to the countries. Grevio is actually working with the government. It inspects practice, writes the reports, and comes up with recommendations, gives a deadline. Before I was elected, the Turkey report, country report, was already written. It was the end of 2013, I guess. The report on Turkey was drafted, recommendations were listed, and Turkey was given a period of time during which it had to fulfill its obligations. So government mechanisms working hand in hand were supposed to alleviate the shortcomings. So a section of the society is against the Istanbul Convention, you said. I became a candidate and I was elected, and at that time, Istanbul Convention I never knew it was evilized, so to speak. I was a candidate, a very close friend of mine called me and she said, withdraw your candidacy because it's not a good thing. I was unaware of the negative perception about Istanbul Convention, and she came to me and she had never read the convention thoroughly and she had misleading information. So they are evilizing or demonizing the convention for two reasons. First, they don't know what the convention is about. Nobody reads the convention itself. They look at the news and develop an opinion. People think Istanbul Convention is only about Istanbul and Turkey. And all the hostile countries that don't like Turkey came together and came up with this convention. Because there is a very solid family structure in Turkey, let's distort that and increase the divorce rates. People think like that. But actually there are 33 countries involved, and not only the Council of Europe countries, but the entire world is now signing the convention. Since 1949, we are a member of Council of Europe. EU membership is something different. Council of Europe is something else. We are a founding member of the Council of Europe. We are the founding member of the Council of Europe. And when it comes to convention work, Turkey is already present with all its bodies and works together. The reason why the convention is called Istanbul Convention is that it was signed in Istanbul. If it was signed in London, it would be called as the London Convention. We were the term president at that time. That's why it was signed here. If you read the convention, it's all about fighting against violence against women and the measures to be taken for that. But it's not only about women. It says domestic. That's why men are included and children are included. So everyone living in the family. And there are different topics. And the countries need to harmonize their domestic law accordingly. So the Istanbul Convention, the people who are opposing the Istanbul Convention, the first reason is that they have never read the convention and they don't know what it says. If Professor İlber Ortaylı was here, he would call those people as ignorant. And the second reason is people have ill intentions. They really have ill intentions because from the Council of Europe side, there needs to be an effort, not only in Turkey, but also in other countries. There are these hostile approaches. All around the world, we see these people. And this is not a problem specific to Turkey only. And all the speakers here have already talked about this. Here, people want to put the women in the second plan and they want to weaken it. There are some strategies defined. For instance, for Bulgaria, they made a big deal out of it, and I think they kind of succeeded. They said they succeeded, but the documents are now exposed and disclosed actually. So there is some ill intention against this in some countries, not only in Turkey. In some religions, as you know, for ultra-Catholics, for instance, you can't get divorced. So if divorce is banned, then what are you going to do with the provisions of the Istanbul Convention? So, in summary, we need to read and understand the convention well. We need to understand it. We need to take a look at the articles of the convention that are being criticized. What are the things that are being criticized? We need to see this and we need to raise awareness in the society. That's very important, and I would like to thank you for creating an opportunity for that. Yes, I would like to thank you as well. This is a very important topic because in public opinion, even though it's a small minority, people are trying to create a perception against the Istanbul Convention. And the law on family numbered 6284. I want to say something as well. I mean, please excuse me. in Turkey we are not able to speak English very well. Those people, they don't know English, they don't speak English, but they take terms in English like gender equality and come up with totally different meanings out of it. That term doesn't mean that in your own language. And even different reports show it, but our people somehow think they are fluent in English and they come up with totally different meanings. They, in a way, rediscover English language. We need to fight against that. Yes, you're right. Of course, common problems of women are being addressed all around the world, but when it comes to women's issues, some countries, especially when it comes to representation of women in decision-making mechanisms, some countries have solved these problems, and there are countries where the women's representation in parliament is more than 50%. For instance, Rwanda, representation of women at the parliament is more than 60%. So we shouldn't be focusing on the bad examples, but we should take the good examples as an example. We need to see, of course, women are facing issues all around the world when it comes to violence against women or participation of women or representation of women. We can have a general picture, but as women and men who are at decision-making positions, it's our foremost duty to fix this problem. Thank you.
Yes, let's move on to Azime Kocacık, because she is someone who we worked with in KA.DER as well. So I would like to ask you this question as the head of the Equality Committee of the Çukurova Municipality, as the mayor and his team. What did you promise to women before the elections? What did you promise to your electorate? And yes, I know it hasn't been a very long time. I mean, we had the local elections on the 31st of March of this year, so it hasn't been a very long time, but what would you say about the progress that you have made so far? Yes, for women, we had some promises. Soner Çetin, in the past, the mayor, he was the mayor in the previous term as well. Mayor Soner Çetin, he was the mayor, and now he's been re-elected thanks to the support of the public. And we have always try to find ways to make women's lives easier, and that was the main promise of the mayor. We have a new community center for women where they can get together, and also within the Atatürk community center we have a library, we have other facilities, a center for families and women. We have a sociologist, psychologist, a lawyer, social worker, and everyone who wishes to benefit from these services can come and do so. We offer legal aid, psychological support, and we also have vocational courses in this community center or women's center. We have trained more than 1,300 women, and 50 of these have now become trainers in these vocational courses. We have 100 women who are employed. Well, actually we have 3 handicraft markets. These women can sell their own products and therefore contribute to their family's budget. We have a women's cooperative in the pipeline. Hopefully we are going to operationalize that soon. And within the vocational school, like I said, we have a center where women can sell their own products. Within this cooperative, women will learn and they will be able to sell their own products, and they will be able to make a contribution to their household and support their children, support their families. And also within the Çukurova municipality, for the disadvantaged, for the poor, we have 7 daycare centers. We're going to increase the number of daycare centers. All of our teachers working in these daycare centers are all women. We have get-together places for women, two of them actually. This is where women can get together, share their experience, do Pilates, and have a bit of tea and coffee, have birthday celebrations, and reach out to other women in the neighborhood. We have seminars and so on and so forth. So Çukurova Municipality has all these facilities for women. And we also have another thing that I'd like to mention. For families with disabled children or with Down syndrome, we have a respite home project. So basically, families can drop off their kids for half a day or for one whole day and then come back to fetch their kids. So these are some of the projects that Çukurova Municipality is doing for women and families. Thank you. Fatma Kaplan, Hürriyet. After 48 years, you're the first female mayor in Izmit. I would like to touch upon fight for equality. Fight for equality in Turkey started in the days of the Ottoman Empire. It's always been a very strong movement, and many battles were waged by women in Turkey, and still there's an ongoing women's movement in Turkey. KA.DER since 1997 has been working to empower women, and we believe that yes, women have a role in politics, but women need to do more. In the parliament, the representation rate is 17%, a mere 17%. Which is quite striking when you compare this with the Rwanda percentage. The parliament opened recently as a woman in electoral systems. I'm sure that you also support certain steps so that women can gain more visibility in the legislation law, in the bylaws of political parties. What needs to be done? What do you reckon? I'm sure you have raised these points with your counterparts. There is this system that is required or demanded by women, the parity system, or a system whereby a female follows a male candidate on the electoral list. So, what would you say about these? What should the parliament do to correct this situation? Well, first of all, I think the political parties' legislation in Turkey needs to change. Because parties, bylaws, directives is impeded by this political party legislation. Although parties want to do this, they cannot. And also there are certain things missing in the documents of political parties. And we did look into this in the past. We talk about representation of women in politics, and we complain about the fact that women are not represented enough. We talk about visibility, this and that. Yes, on a local level and on a national level, we need more representation for women. There are only 45 mayors, female mayors in Turkey right now, and this is quite low. And the reason for that is because in the political parties' legislation, there are some missing elements. And also there's certain things missing in the documents of the political parties, and not enough opportunities are offered to women. We always talk about this. There are certain role models expected of women, certain responsibilities. I mean, if a child is to be taken to a park, it should be the woman. If shopping is to be done, it should be done by the woman. If a child is going to be taken somewhere over the weekend, it should be the woman, and so on and so forth. Yes. So all of these tasks are entrusted on women. I don't see these as duties, but these are tasks that are sadly entrusted on women. So in politics, for women to take an active role, we need to offer some opportunities. Economic independence, for instance. In order for you to do politics, you need money. And how about political parties? When you look at the bylaws of political parties, what do we see? Do we see any additional financial resources for women? Any redress? No. Or in terms of representation? Well, we talked about the quotas. We called it the gender quota, 10% for young people and 33% women. And of course, you can't fix everything with quotas, but we need to adopt a more egalitarian approach. Only then can we make sure that women are much more active in politics. Only then can we make sure that women rise up the ranks in several different fields of administration. Only then can we add the female perspective to many different walks of life. Once you do that, many exciting things follow suit. So let us focus on this. And also as women, we need to have more awareness. And when we are somewhere, when we rise up the ranks, we should pave the way for other women. We should support other women. So we should always pull other women up. Yes, we may have opened our own route, but we need to make sure that we open the route for other women. I think this is one of the biggest problems in politics, lack of solidarity between women in politics. So we need certain practical policies to prevent this from happening. And right now I have 26 managers, and more than half, more than 15 are actually female. Yes, I have the numbers. I will ask you about that shortly. So yes, the reason for that is not obviously just because they're women. Of course, they're competent enough. Of course, they have experience enough. But I have endured a great deal of hardships because of the fact that I'm a woman. That's why I support them. And that's why I've always wanted to work with women if all the rest of the conditions are the same. Some people call this the female ego, but maybe it's in our nature. So solidarity between women is key. If men do not prioritize women, then perhaps women should do that themselves. Exactly. Şeyma, Döğücü, how about you? Before you were elected, in 19 neighborhoods, you said that there would be daycare centers. You promised that you would build these daycare centers. And also you had a market project, Golden Hands, where women could sell their own products and make a contribution to their family's budget. What would you like to say about this? And also, here's what I'm curious about. You said that all women are natural local administrators. How would you elaborate on that? And what is the difference that you are hoping to achieve in your own district? Thank you. Yes, I do believe in this. Every woman by birth is a local administrator because they manage their household, their kids, their husband. And when the time comes, they also manage their parents with compassion, with great care, great attention. And a woman is an organizer, first and foremost. Quite practical. A woman can sort everything out in 2 minutes and then get things rolling. That's why I believe that women, first of all, before everything else, they need to believe in themselves, be cognizant of their own capabilities, They need to be aware of what they can achieve in life. That's very important. In politics, being a politician, being an administrator, requires a lot of courage, right? Because in politics, in the political arena, yes, there are certain mechanisms that tarnish your mechanism, but women are afraid of these, concerned about these, because we are honorable beings. We do not wish to be hurt. We do not wish to be belittled. And violence is not just physical, right? It cannot be confined to physical violence only. People can also be psychologically subjected to violence. And this applies to men, women, children, animals, plants. We should shut down violence, reject violence as administrators, politicians, because if you are a politician, you are a role model, and you need to really be responsible and mindful of that. Yes, as women, as local administrators, as local politicians, yes, our numbers are limited, but as women, we have got to be successful. We have this onus on our shoulders. We need to be successful. Only then will people realize that women can do it too. And only then will we see that the barriers in front of us are eliminated. We've had this in many different professions. Like in certain professions, you see a dominance of women, and no one questions it. No one thinks it's odd. In politics, in administrative areas, in other social areas, we need to do this. As women, we need to exist, we need to be responsible, and we need to achieve success. So, I've won the mayoral elections, that's it. No, I cannot say that. I have a mission, I need to be compassionate, I need to be caring. My district has 500,000 population, it's quite a cosmopolitan district, and there's people from all walks of life, from all segments of the society. That's why, yes, I talked about my projects in the campaign, I talked about what I would do, the market, the youth centers, and so on and so forth, the incubator, and so on and so forth, and these proved popular, but I've always also said that, these projects, these physical projects, these buildings, roads, this and that, these are technical matters. Of course, these can be done, but what we need to do in Sancaktepe is this, and what we need to do together is this. Let us promote fraternity, togetherness, coexistence, multiculturalism. This is what I want to achieve. In Sancaktepe, I want our kids to smile. I want to see this in their eyes, and only together. We can only do this together. That was my proposal, and I think this is why I was elected into the office. As women, we need to unleash this. Now, I believe that peace will be built by women in the world. I believe in this. And only women can achieve peace, world peace. We may not come from the same political views, we may have different opinions, but two women, when they sit down, they can have discussions, they can talk, and they can find the middle ground, right? And we need to reflect this on politics, on our profession, on whatever we do in life. I think this is tremendously important. As for my policies, yes, we have started our work about daycare centers. A new daycare center is almost ready, and hopefully it will be operationalized soon, and hopefully every neighborhood will get a daycare center, and they will also get social areas. We will make sure that every district is going to be covered. We are a new district, and we have many neighborhoods. We need to flourish this culture of togetherness. We need more harmony between different neighborhoods of our district, and foster a culture of neighborhood. We're going to have community centers, maybe smaller community center in each and every neighborhood. And also the Golden Hands Market is an important project. We did initiate this project actually in the last month in September actually. In a marquee, we did a demonstration of this idea, and everyone was terribly happy. Women were able to bring this to the market and sell their products. I think women are skillful. They can run their households, the municipality, and the country, and cook. I mean, they are great cooks, really masterful cooks. Jewelry, paintings. I mean, there were great products on sale. Women are productive first and foremost, and I also believe that cities are female in nature, feminine in nature, because cities are also productive. They generate culture, togetherness, and yes, we have all these projects for women, but also we want to embrace young people and children as well. Hopefully these projects will continue. Now, at the beginning of your remarks, you said that some people questioned a woman being a mayor, but women can be brilliant mayors just like anything else, and hopefully people are going to acknowledge this by the end of this process. It is important that we shatter these prejudices as well. So Aslan, for women to go out of the household, for them to be trained, for them to have a profession, and for them to have a voice in politics, what are the things that are needed? And is there a relationship between domestic violence and women achieving success in the public space? If a woman is beaten up, would a woman feel that this is a barrier against their existence in the public space, or would they fight against it? And also, in a holistic manner, how can we resolve this issue? Thank you.
Hiç kuşkusuz tabii ki, yani ben daha önceki konu.
Of course, in my previous remarks, I also said that women being subject to violence at home would prevent them from having access to education, healthcare services, or being represented at decision-making mechanisms. There is no doubt about that. So the Istanbul Convention is important for that reason too. And there are certain principles brought by the Istanbul Convention itself. First, number one principle is establishing gender equality in the society. And here they mean women having same rights as men and providing equality of opportunities. First, this needs to be created in the society, and all mechanisms need to function accordingly. There are responsibilities of the state, of the NGOs, the academia, research centers, universities. They all have their roles to play. The families have a role to play as well. So we need an overall coordinated effort to fight against this. For instance, we have the Violence Prevention and Monitoring Centers. The first center was established in Ankara. So we started this effort in the metropolitan municipalities, and then we spread it out to other cities. Now we have these centers in all 81 provinces. We have a monitoring center, a monitoring and prevention center for violence. The other important thing is to admit the problem. Whenever we talk about this problem, people say, oh, this is overrated, this is too much exaggerated. But if you admit or accept that there is a problem, if you recognize that there is a problem, you are already halfway through the solution. Well, that's the thing that I get the most disappointed about. In other countries, we have sessions, just like this one. Representatives or ministers of UK, for instance, they come and talk about the scale of violence, and they talk about how much they are making efforts to fight against that. So first we need to recognize and admit that this is a problem. Of course, there is a transformation of the mindsets in the society. I think on the 11th of September, the day of the girl child, we were going to have an event, and we invited someone from Ağrı because they had a project. So we said, let the girls come and talk about their project. So we wanted to bring that girl from Ağrı. First we contacted her school, and then we were told that her father is not willing to send her. And they even asked if another girl could come instead of her. We said, no, she has to come. I was a deputy minister at that time. I called that father myself, and I was expecting to hear something like that. I thought the man would tell me, I can't send my daughter over there. She's a girl. She can't go, because these were the types of answers we would get when we were kids. Totally something different came up. The father told me I couldn't send her bigger sister to school. If she comes to Ankara, she will miss her classes, so I don't want to send her. I said, okay, then we will bring the teacher with her, and during the trip, the teacher will teach her class to her. So we also have nice things happening, this transformation of the people's mindsets. It's taking place. It's impossible that it won't happen. We have the TV now, the media now. On a constant basis, people are being informed, and there is this awareness, but it's happening slowly. We need to accelerate that. We need to work hand in hand to do that. Yes, you said something very important. We need to first admit and recognize that there is a problem. We shouldn't be pretending that the problem doesn't exist. Women and girls are facing problems in this country, and first of all, we need to recognize these problems, and we need to have a data-based approach so that we will be able to come up with solutions. Yes, Ms. Azize, do you have any messages for women who want to become part of the decision-making mechanisms? Of course, I do have a message for them. They should never give up, first of all. They should never give up. We have mayors here. Women are like fertile lands. Women take whatever they are given and share whatever they have. We always talk about equality, but we can't work at equal conditions with men. Men can still be involved in politics even if they are married, if they have 3 children. But for women to exist in political life, they need to work even harder. And they need to have a PhD level education, first of all. They want to see women who are married with beautifully raised children. People want to see women to be better off if they want to be politicians. So many things are asked for women if they want to become politicians. So our duty is not to give up. We need to stand against this external psychological violence. We shouldn't be paying attention to rumors. We should just focus on our target, and we should say we are here to succeed, and we will work hand in hand with other women, because women are the friends, true friends of other women. This should be the logic that we have. We shouldn't be fighting with women, but we should fight together with them. Imagine during the War of Independence, women played such an important role. They had children in diapers, and they used those diapers to carry the bullets. So we should see this like a war of independence, the war of independence of women. And we should just stop paying attention to rumors and focus on our targets. That's what I recommend to other women. Yes. And also, the female perspective. Like, I am the deputy mayor now. We have 5 other deputy mayors. But we should never neglect the language of love. You can do it. You can be successful. Use of language like that would really encourage women. My doors are open for everyone. As the deputy mayor, everyone is able to contact me freely, and everybody tells me that we see you as a sister, as a mother. That's very important. That's very important to hear that. People think it's safer or easier to talk to women. Sometimes they even come up to me and talk about their private lives. And sometimes I need to do my office work outside the office hours because I need to talk to these people. So people come to us and they share their intimate feelings with us. If we can give trust to them, we can continue doing politics. We should never give up. I have become the deputy mayor after a struggle of 10 years. I could have easily given up. I could have used and consumed my energy by trying to respond to the negative comments. But no, I didn't do it. I didn't give up. And here I am addressing you today. And I would like to share a quote that I like. David Schwartz said this. Maybe this will shed some light for women. If you believe that something is impossible, your mind will start working to prove why this is impossible. However, if you truly believe that you can do something, your mind will focus on doing it and finding solutions. So we need to trust in our minds, in our will, and we need to trust in ourselves. Let's take a step for politics. We will see the results. And I also want to say something as I have the opportunity. I would like to make a call to all the highest level decision-making authorities, our MPs. I would be happy if they could support us, especially women MPs. During a traffic accident, when there are casualties, to deter speeding, the traffic tickets are being increased every day as to make it deterrent. But when women are facing insults or defamation or statements that they don't deserve, nothing is done. I would like to call out to the authorities. Yes, you can lose your life in a traffic accident. It can be tragic. However, these insults and defamation against women are also as serious as that. People commit suicides, they lose their marriages, people are being murdered because of these insults. So those people who recourse to defamation on social media need to be facing sanctions without having the need to go to the court, just like a traffic ticket. The sanctions should be imposed immediately. Okay, thank you. This is something that we need to, first of all, start implementing at the parliament level, that sexist language, otherizing the other gender, needs to be avoided. Sanctions need to be there. We are running out of our time, so Ms. Hürriyet, looking at your work as deputy mayor at the municipality, there is a representation of 33% in your municipality in terms of women's representation. It's good for Turkey, and at least you have been able to implement your party's quota there. For every council member, 4 council members, there is 1 woman. It's 80%. 16 out of your 25 directors are women. And the population of Izmit is 360,000 people. Why am I telling you this? Because municipalities that have a population of higher than 100,000 people have to prepare a strategic plan. So, when preparing your strategic plans for the coming 4 years, 2020-2024, during the preparation phase, to what extent did you get the opinions of the women's NGOs when you were preparing the strategic plans? And in terms of identifying the needs and expectations of female citizens, what kind of methods did you use? While preparing the strategic plan, I was also very sensitive about outside stakeholders in terms of planning an egalitarian budget. This was important. Projects, priorities, and the budget to be allocated to them. Of course, we had a very dense exchange of opinions with our external stakeholders. We always had constant contact with the NGOs. As an individual, as a politician, as a lawyer, I have always constant contact with them. So the strategic plan was prepared accordingly. So we have increased awareness. And when it comes to projects, in terms of budgeting and timing, we have identified our priorities. So in terms of the projects, yes, we came up with more or less similar projects based on needs. For instance, nurseries are one example. The most important need is now the nurseries or kindergartens. Municipalities have to work on this. Then we have the women's shelters, social centers. We want women to socialize. We want to create spaces where women can socialize. We have so many projects that we prepared by taking into consideration the disadvantages of women. We want to, of course, alleviate the disadvantages that they are facing. But when we say nursery, we immediately think about women and children. But when we say women's centers or women's cooperatives, we always talk about these things. But of course, it's the women who are using the city the most. They are the ones that use the public transportation, the roads, the bridges, everything. So we need to plan everything in a way that we make life easier for women. That's also a project. Creating a physical space, yes, it is a project. Activities for women, preparing the budget for that, coming up with a systematics is also important. But we also have the city violence, as we call it. Imagine you are planning a multi-layer car park. If you don't do the planning well, if you don't use your gender lenses, you might make that car park a crime space. You need to make it safe for women at all times of the day and night as well. So we need to create safe cities, safe streets, safe spaces for women. And we need to take into consideration all these things when we do the planning. So linking it with the previous question, I can say that this is why we need to make sure that women are part of local administrations so that they will contribute accordingly. My colleague says something very nice. We are natural born local administrators, but women are also natural born planners. We have the organizational skills, we pay attention to details. So a car park, if it's not planned by paying attention to women's needs, it can create violence. If there is a blind spot, a dark spot, an unsafe space for women, it's bad. But if you plan it with by looking from the lenses of women, it can be turned into a very safe place where women can use with their families, children and friends, etc. So local administrators need to act with the awareness of keeping women in mind, because women spend more time in the cities, they use the facilities more, so we need to focus on women. And I just wanted to say that as well. And I still have some time, by the way. Yes, I still have some time. Yes, thank you very much for abiding by your time. KA.DER is also paying attention to preparation of egalitarian budgets. We want to have gender-sensitive budgeting, inclusive governance documents, and preparation of such documents. We are collaborating with the municipalities, and budgeting is one of the work fields of KA.DER. When we say egalitarian budget, we have an example that we really like. We say that women and men are using the cities together, but they have different needs, and we give an example to talk about this. We give the example of violets and cactuses. You need to water them in different amounts. If you want to be equal to them, you will kill the cactus because it needs less water. So we need to, first of all, admit that men and women have different needs. The municipalities need to pay attention to different needs when they prepare the budget. This is very important.
İspanya'da mıydı hatırlayamıyorum.
I think it was in Spain, somewhere in Europe. Aisha would perhaps correct me later on, but a municipality even cares about the height of plants. 40 centimeters, for instance, for a plant, because if mothers bring their children to the park, and if the plants grow taller, then they might not be able to see their children. Mothers need to be able to see their children. Only a woman could think of this. I think this was by a female mayor in Spain. So that's why it's so important. Women's touch is so important in mayors. And that's why mayors need to assume this responsibility. As women, I think local authorities are a great example where mayors can touch the lives of so many people. Yes, women also have this discourse. Women are not interested in politics. How can we draw more women to politics? People say women do not wish to be candidates. Do you think this is substantiated? Do you think that this is really the case? How can we break this spiral? Yes, yes, there isn't a lot of demand. That's correct, because for a woman to be a candidate, to be involved in politics, as was previously mentioned, they need economic independence, right? They need a certain level of welfare so that they can enter politics, because politics take all of your time. So in a way, there are certain conditions that need to be fulfilled. If you can fulfill these conditions, only then can you be in politics as a woman. You know, your education, this and that, everything is scrutinized. But we must make sure that, women, I think it's very important that women should serve as village heads or muhtars. I have two muhtars, female muhtars, and they do a brilliant job. They can work as administrators, managers. They can start at the lower ranks of the ladder and then assume more and more responsibility. And for people like us, elected people, we need to encourage these women. And hopefully in my neighborhood, I'm going to also organize an event and we are going to discuss these issues there, what women should do in terms of politics, in terms of civil society as well, because I do believe that civil society is the realm of women as well. And I'm a big believer in civil society, on voluntary work. I mean, this is something that women really take to heart. Yes, men also do voluntary work, but women are far better at it. Women are result-oriented. They look at the outcome and they look at the final resolution. But I don't know if I don't wish to offend men, but men do not necessarily think about the outcome of things. No, men think about the actual outcome, whereas women tend to sacrifice themselves more, and this is the difference that women bring to the realm of politics. That's why we need to support women. Let's get together, let's work on these topics, but most of all, let us make sure that we raise our kids with this perspective, instill a sense of equality in them. My husband, he never shies away from household chores. He has always helped me, and without this support, I don't think I would be as successful in politics, or I would have found it much more difficult. Again, I wouldn't have given up, but my burden would have increased so much, because so many women experience this. When they focus on something, they're not necessarily supported by their families, and they experience setbacks. We need to instill this perspective. This is a process, not just special to Turkey. We looked at the Netherlands example. It took them 40 or 50 years to reach those levels, 40%, right? The quota system, this and that. So yes, these things take time. And I see women out there in the field, and I go to many different places. I talk to people of different political convictions, and they have supported me tremendously in my campaign. And we need to disseminate this view, and we need to realize that women make up half of the population, and we need to increase the representation of women in politics. Then the whole thing will be resolved. And male politicians will also appreciate the importance of this, and we should always help women. Now we have a woman head of the Provincial Education Directorate, and also the Registrar's Office, head of the Registrar's Office, and head of the Nationalist People's Party, People's Movement, again, is a woman. And all of these things are encouraging steps for other women to take responsibility. So we need to duplicate these good examples. We need to work properly. We need to appeal to people. And I think women are quite successful at this. And I do believe that this is going to continue in the future. So in order to achieve politics, we need to do this. We need to change our mindsets. And as mothers, we need to raise our sons properly. Let us never forget that. Let us never forget the importance of our influence. And, women are being trained all the time. And yes, women's training is important. We need to offer good perspectives to women. That's important. But we also need to train our men, involve them in these sorts of trainings, and encourage them. And I'd like to call out to the young people here as well. Your perspectives is also very important. That's why we need to get together with young people as much as possible to sort of explain to them that this is not something that is to be feared. When you look at municipalities, I think there is no distinction between men and women in terms of doing something. My colleague knows this very well, because you are experiencing the same problems. Just because you're a woman, the problems do not change. You are engaged in the same struggle. What you need to do is you need to demonstrate your success and encourage people and inspire people, and that will translate into the votes that you receive, regardless of the gender of the voters. It's very important to work closely with the young people. Let me tell you about a project very briefly. I know our time is up, but Very recently, we reached out to young people, and they were to be the mayor for a day. 30 youngsters. Actually, we made an announcement on social media. We had 200 applications. We held interviews, and we narrowed it down to 30 people. And 30 students, 15 university students, and 15 college students, high school students. They came for 15 days, actually. One uni student, one high school student, they accompanied me, shadowed me. Two others shadowed deputy mayors, two shadowed directors and other managers. So they spent the whole day with us, and they understood what we do, how to render municipal services, working hours, this and that, working hours, endless working hours, sorts of things that we do. They were able to witness this one-on-one with us, and in the end we gave them certificates. And here's what I'd like to say. There, yes, yes, we told them what we were doing, but we also learned an awful lot from them, right? We learned an awful lot. Like a young person brought in a project on street vendors. Like a street vendor's cart, but full of books to offer free of charge to people sitting in the parks, for instance. He had this brilliant idea, and I loved it. I loved that idea, and I'm going to put it into practice. Definitely. So yes, we need to believe in the young people. We need to adopt their perspective. Otherwise, we will not be able to make it to the future. Let's get together with the young people more often. I think that will solve all our problems. Thank you very much. Yes, we talked about women in politics for the last hour and a half. Some mothers, some are not. Women have the potential to transform this society. They are very much willing to assume this responsibility. As women, actually, we do not wish to, we wish to be acknowledged, and we have come to the end of our session. I'd like to thank everyone for their attention, but most of all, but any questions before we wrap up?
Niye?
Teşekkür ederiz.
Evet, şimdi gördüm. Yukarıya gelmesi lazımdı ama altta kalmış. Evet. Sayın Döğücü'ye gelmiş bir soru.
Question for Madam Döğücü. When I look at the organizational chart of the municipality, I see that not many female administrators are present. Are you going to try and increase this as a woman mayor? Thank you. I get this question quite often. We did affirmative action for men as deputy mayors, but the managers right now, we have 5 women managers out of 22 managers in total. And here's what I do. Of course, we already had a team when we came into Tower. We worked with a company. We measured the performance of the staff. And I decided not to focus too much on whether they were men or women. I decided to focus more on competency and meritocracy. I think this is where success lies. If we impede a successful woman, that's bad. But just because they're a woman, we shouldn't promote an unsuccessful woman. That would be problematic as well. Of course, I wish there were more women, but merits. It needs to be based on the merit. There are so many questions, but our time is up. We have gone beyond our time limits. So a few questions. Müslüm Yıldız, Kocaeli University has a question. This question is for, please, one of you. Do you think that women in Turkey, from a political, ideological point of view, can they put these aside and can they truly get together? Is that possible or is it already happening? A volunteer. Let me ask a question in relation to this question. Why should this be on the shoulders of women, this load? This belongs to everyone as a duty for humanity at large. Yes, women are able to do this, but this responsibility should not belong to us only. I think this is something that pertains to humanity at large. Thank you. Microphone, please.
Konu geçtiği zaman hiçbir siyasi parti gözetmeksizin tüm kadınlar aynı karar alma yolunda ulaşıyorlar mı? Yoksa daha farklı ideolojiler ön plana çıkıyor?
Evet, Kocaeli Üniversitesi
Yeah, I also graduated from Kocaeli University, so I wanted to answer this question anyway. Yes, as someone who has worked in the parliament, allow me to say this. And also I was part of the Equal Opportunities Committee as a member of the parliament. Maybe what I'm going to say is going to sound a bit dismal, but what I want is for no discrimination to ever happen, social, political, religion-based. Women should get together to fix their own problems. Also, people should get together for that. But in this current state of affairs in Turkey, this is not possible. We couldn't do this in the parliament. As someone who worked in these committees, sadly, I realized that ideologies, myself included, preclude us from cooperating. I'm not just saying because I represent the opposition. We haven't been able to do this, unfortunately. I was once a part of a committee, divorce committee. We did visits both inside Turkey and outside Turkey, and it was a very important topic. A committee on divorce, on domestic violence, this and that. There were so many important things that had to be tackled, but the design of the studies, reporting, and the meetings that were held, and the Istanbul Convention, and especially the Turkish legislation, how problematic it was. I mean, all of these things were discussed. It's as if things would end up in a chaos for men. So here's what I thought, and I'm very upset to say this, but unfortunately right now that is not possible in such a polarized society. But hopefully one day it will come to pass. This ideal will come to pass.
işte mış gibi yapıyoruz ondan sonra. Konuşuyormuş gibi, hallediyormuş gibi, çözüyormuş gibiye dönüyor iş ve hiçbir şey çözülmüyor.
We are going to make greater strides in the future because right now, things may look good on paper, but in practice that is not the case. Women, children, men, young people, how they live socially, politically, from an economic point of view, unfortunately, we are not making enough progress. 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. That's why we need to change our paradigm. Only then can we do this as a country and as humanity. Thank you very much indeed. Projects for women, employment opportunities. When are we going to surpass handicrafts and move on to real jobs?
Sırasında kadınların geleneksel rol modellerinin dışına taşıyacak işler ve kurslar ne zaman ön plana çıkartılacak? İşte reçel yapma, konserve yapma.
In addition to knitting and handicraft, what will be done? Name withheld. Who would like to answer this question? Allow me to say something very briefly with your permission. In schools, here's this thing on the walls. There's always pictures of scientists and all men. Like we don't have any female scientists. We do, but unfortunately, in public spaces in schools, these pictures are not featured. Again, even in our own projects, we limit women. We sometimes create the glass ceiling ourselves. We talk about cooking, motherhood, handicraft. And why don't we talk about education, science, equal pay, equal opportunities? We don't talk about these enough. About science and technology, we had a field work about youngsters. Innovation, yes, we have an innovation center. Our time is not enough. We have gone well beyond our time limits. We need to wrap up. If something brings good money, why shouldn't we do it? If something brings good money, why shouldn't we do it? What women do best? I mean, when you look at what women do best, you have cooking, child care, and these are dominated by men as industries, right? Is that not the case? All daycare centers are run by men, right? Who receives the money is men. All chefs are men. I mean, do we cook worse than men? No. So, these are reputable professions, and this is what we do best. Why not, I say? Here's what I would like to say. We do not wish to lock women in these boxes, but women who do these things, they already do these things at home, and we want them to monetize these efforts. We create them a space to do that. But of course, we are open to other opportunities. We have university students here. We have girls studying different topics, different subjects. They can be, if they want, they can be scientists. If not, they can do whatever they want. Start their own business, be business people, be politicians, be lawyers, be physicians, and so on and so forth. So this is a process. But if you offer these opportunities to housewives as well, at least they will make an additional income. And it's a great happiness for them, let me tell you. When they can afford something for their kids, that economic independence is a great feeling for them. And we do this on the internet as well. I have this project for women to sell foods, dishes that they cook at home to working women. We are preparing a website for that. Instead of ordering online from an unknown retailer, you will be able to order a dish, a meal from someone who cooks at home, so that your children will eat healthy stuff. Home-cooked meals. This is what we're working towards. And hopefully we are going to turn this into an economic value. Otherwise, we're not, of course, aiming at limiting women. One last question. Local authorities, women's projects have been mentioned, but how about men? Do you ever target men to raise awareness?
Ra yönelik projeler var ama burada kadına karşı şiddeti de konuşurken Bu olayın diğer tarafı erkekler var. Erkekleri bilinçlendirmeye yönelik bir çalışma yapmayı düşünüyor musunuz belediyelerinizde?
Please. Let me give you an example, something that we experienced. Taking this opportunity, allow me to say this. We went to Şanlıurfa as the parliamentarians, the committee, when municipalities talked about what they do. Someone in charge, something that I found to be really relevant. They said, you know, we train women, we have all these training courses, but as women learn about these things, when they go back home, even in the slightest of the quarrel, they say, I'm going to get a divorce, I'm going to get this alimony, I'm going to get the custody, and then domestic violence is aggravated. It turns into an even greater crisis, we were told by someone. So this sort of fans the flame. So yes, we're talking about the training of women, but we need to also target men and raise awareness with men.
Yaşamsal insan olma haklarını öğretmek, eyvallah, hiçbir soru yok. Ama şiddeti gösteren erkek. Erkeği ne kadar eğitiyoruz noktasında bizde de hep soru işareti olmuştu. Camide
This is something that we need to target. Men in all walks of life must be trained on anger management, women's issues. Yes, definitely this needs to be done by the state, by local authorities, and by the relevant institutes, organizations. We need meta policies on this.
kullanılan da var, ne yazık ki içi boş olan da var. İşte burada sadece kadına karşı şiddetin önlenmesi noktasında kadının eğitilmesi ve korunmasının yanına erkeğin
We need to train men on anger management, rehabilitation, and so on and so forth. These must be addressed as well. And this is not something that belongs to municipalities only. Like I said, we need a meta level of policies, just like the Istanbul Convention.
yüklediği eşitlik zorunluluğu gibi çok paydaş il müdürlükleri, valilikler, STK'lar, odalar, herkesin içerisinde olacağı bir yapılanmayla birlikte erkeğin farkındalığının, kadının insan olma hakkını kabul etmesinin sağlanması gerekiyor. Hukuk fakültesinde bir hocamız demişti ki, işte yeni geliyor, Anadolu'dan geliyor çocuk, kız ya da erkek. Yani onları bile bu bazı farkındalıklara alıştırmak o kadar zor bir şey ki, işte paydaş ne kadar çok olursa etki alanı ve bunu tabana yaymak çok daha fazla ve etkili olur diye düşünüyorum.
Haklısınız. Bu arada ben de KA.DER'den bir haber vermek
I have an announcement from KA.DER in Izmir. I'm not going to name the name of the political party, but an awareness campaign is to be initiated, and KA.DER's door was knocked by a political party. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, this is going to be initiated for men on citizens' rights of women and violence against women, family, notion of family, which is what the Istanbul Convention covers, sustainability of the family, and how violence against women needs to be eradicated. So a series of trainings will take place. Yes. Thank you so much. We need to raise awareness with women as well as men. It's very important for the transformation of the society. Now, I would like to thank everyone who made this event possible and everyone who participated. This has been a great session. I'd like to thank all our panelists for their input and you, our audience, for your attention. Thank you very much indeed. Goodbye.
programda görüşmek üzere diyorum.